All right, hello everyone, and welcome to our second part of our review for the end of quarter two, which is going to focus on age of change. And you're probably wondering what our title may mean, and let me kind of give you some hints. We're going to look at a lot of the changes that came to the world from the late 1700s to the 1800s, and look at how life changed in terms of industry and economics and governments and everything you pretty much can think of has changed, or lifestyles change during the late 1700s to the late 1800s, so about a good 100 years or so. So that's what we're going to focus on. Okay, just remember from last week too, or not last week, I'm sorry, from the last class, to analyze the importance of topics and how they impacted world history. And we have our standards too. Again, like I said in the last lesson, you can always go back and look at the previous weeks and see those lessons. Please don't feel like you have to, but if you want to brush up on a certain topic, you may do that as well. We will be going over these topics in live class, and you can bring your questions there as well, or shoot us an email or a Schoology message, or however you want to get a hold of us, and we'll be more than happy to help you and go over any questions or confusion you may have. Okay? So again, just like the previous lesson, what questions do you have about these topics? And then what do you remember about these topics as well? All right, so let's talk about Napoleon. Remember, Napoleon Bonaparte came to power during the French Revolution, and he quickly rises through the military ranks. The government likes him. He's well liked by the people. And he quickly declares himself emperor when some problems were going on with the French government. There was some, a lot of not destruction, but just discourse. A lot of the government wasn't getting along, things weren't going well. So he quickly takes control of the government and declares himself emperor, and he does make some positive changes. In France, he made a lot of reforms at the government level. He gets rid of a lot of the corruption. He helps train a lot of the government officials, and he also reestablished the power of the church. During the French Revolution, the power of the church had been limited and kind of denied, and so he helps the church help rebuild its power and establishment in the country. And a lot of people like that. They want the church to be restored. However, as he begins to expand his empire and his dreams and his goals of controlling the world, he's going to be kind of limited and squashed by these other countries, Great Britain and Russia, to name a few, that are going to quickly want to extinguish his desire and his power to rule the world, and they will be successful at it later on, and eventually this will lead to his downfall. There were also other democratic changes in Europe. France struggled for a long time with democratic changes and power of government, and a lot of other European countries did as well. Also remember that colonies in Latin America and South America, like Mexico and Brazil and Venezuela, and Argentina, are going to look for independence as well. Now, some colonies are going to have to actually, use weapons to gain their independence and fight for their freedom from Spain, while others, such as Brazil, were able to protest for it peacefully and get a petition together and gather the strength that they needed to gain their independence. We also have a revolutionary movement in the arts in terms of Romanticism and Impressionism. We talked a lot about that in our lessons and looked at some of those paintings. And music also changes, and writing. So again, even though changes don't always have to be, wars or, governments. They can be art and literature and music and things like that as well. So a lot of those types of things are changing as well around the world. Speaking of big changes, we have the Industrial Revolution. New technology and new inventions like machinery and the steamboat and the railroad are going to help create and spread the Industrial Revolution. People are going to move to the cities and work in factories. So people are going to move off of farms to go to the cities for work, for higher paying jobs, and they're going to work in these factories, but they're going to find out that the work is dangerous, work is hard, it's not as glamorous as people had made it out to be. And even though lifestyles are going to improve, people are going to begin to make more money a little bit, their health will improve a little bit, but again, work was hard, it was dirty, it was dangerous, and it was a very difficult time for people during the Industrial Revolution. And I already kind of mentioned this as well, but remember we talked about transportation systems like the steamboat, and railroads, and the turnpike. We talked about the turnpike especially, which is going to help move people and goods around the world as well. We also have a lot of reforms that are going to happen in response to a lot of the things during the Industrial Revolution. People pushed for equal voting rights for both men and women. Women will gain their right to suffrage or the right to vote much later than men, but a lot of men are going to also push for voting rights, such as in the working class or the middle class, and they're going to look to earn this right to vote. We also have labor reforms, which are going to provide opportunities for people to join unions, to be represented against their bosses or their management, and have a right to better working conditions or better pay. Other reformers also sought to change the world in abolition, getting rid of slavery, education, prison reform, rights for women. So again, a lot of changes that are going to happen, and a lot of these are good changes. And we also have some economic changes as well. We have capitalism is going to be a big spread that goes around the world, and we also have communism comes about, and Marxism, and Unitarianism. So a lot of people, not Unitarianism, but utilitarianism, I apologize for that, but economic views that are also going to split and divide people into different views on how government should spend money and how do we help the people and the poor. So to wrap it up, remember that Napoleon changed France and the world. He brings about a lot of good changes for France, and he tries to expand his power beyond the borders of France. Succeeds a little bit, but is eventually kind of pushed back and forced into exile, and his empire will come to a collapse. We have the Industrial Revolution, which had positives and negatives. We had a lot of good things that came out of the Industrial Revolution, such as new transportation, new machinery, better lifestyles, but it was also a very difficult time for people in terms of working conditions and hard lifestyles and people being poor. And as a result of this, we also have a lot of reforms that come about, such as, like I said, for the economy, with communism, new thoughts about how to make judgments on that, and other areas that dominate the time, such as abolition and voting rights, and other reforms that are going to come around to help make the world a better place. Okay, so I said this in the last lesson, but please bring any questions you have to live class, and we will definitely discuss it with you. We will help you work on these projects. That's our goal for this week. Continue to work on any missing assignments you may be missing, work on Compass and things like that. And again, if you need to, feel free to go back and look at the lessons if you're confused. But again, we will be reviewing in live class, so please do not feel like you have to go back and watch the lessons again, because we will be discussing a lot of this in live classes as too this week. All right, so until then, we will see you in live class.